Welcome to the Bite-Sized Storytelling Show, brought to you by Commaful.com, where we bring you techniques, advice, and stories that will help you on your writing journey. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to our special guest.
Hello, Commaful. This is screenwriter Phillip E. and you're about to get a crash course on how to write your first feature screenplay. A little bit about my background. I have competed in many film festivals, and I've placed in one at 150 competitions and script contests. I also have 10 option and right to shop agreements, and my material has been in front of people like Martin Scorsese, Millennium Films, Paramount Studios, Bob Zemeckis, and many others. I'm going to talk to you about the basics of screenwriting. So the first thing that you may want to consider is get yourself a good book on how to write a screenplay. This one here is a book I bought about 7-8 years ago called The Hollywood Standard by Christopher Riley. It's a good book on formatting basics, on how to set up slug lines, how to write good dialogue, and action sequences, which is difficult for a lot of people, and also the dreaded parenthetical, which is overused by many newbie writers. There are many other book options like the Screenwriter's Bible and the 90-Day Screenplay. In any case, the next step would be selecting screenwriting software. I use Final Draft, which is one of the industry standards. However, there is a lot of people in the marketplace coming out. Movie Magic, Fade In, Writer's Duet, and an outfit called Celtics, which used to have free software available. I don't know if that's still the case, but free is always good. After you've purchased your software, you get it set up, and you're reading the manual on how to use it, and you get stuck. What I did is I went online, and YouTube has videos on how to use every kind of software there is. So I found a nice 30-minute video on how to use Final Draft, and a half hour later, I was working on my first screenplay. The next thing I'd like to talk about is picking a topic for your screenplay. A lot of people will tell you to write what you know about, because that way your writing will feel legitimate. It'll ring true. But I can tell you I've written many, many screenplays about topics I had no idea who the people were when I started off. I've written work-for-hire screenplays where somebody wanted a specific topic, such as the sexual slave trade in Istanbul. I didn't know anything about it. I watched the documentary, and whoopee, away I went. I've also written screenplays about Angela Davis, Charles Bukowski, and J.D. Salinger, as well as several other historical events. But in doing that, sorry about scratching my face, in doing that, you need to do your research so that you feel comfortable in navigating the topic that you're going to write about. That may require reading several books. Some people spend months researching a topic. I can tell you I've never spent more than a week or two researching anything that I've written about. The next step would be screenwriting structure. You want to learn your basic formatting, and I like the 3-act structure. But when you're formatting a script, you have to learn about, like I said, slug lines and action and writing dialogue. But in using the 3-act structure, you have a nice foundation to do your work. If you want to break it down into pages, a 100-play screenplay would have 25 pages in the first act, 50 pages in the second act, and 25 pages in the third act. But things need to happen in all the acts of the screenplay. In the first act, you generally will set up the world of your lead character, your protagonist. You may introduce your villain, your antagonists. There's something called the inciting incident that transpires, and that's something that drives your character forward so that he wants to do something in the screenplay throughout the first and second act. For example, I wrote a sort of autobiographical comedy about myself as a musician, and the inciting incident happens in the first 8 pages of the screenplay, where I was kicked out of the house at a young age and then moved in with a fellow bandmate. The second act, the character will set out to accomplish his goals, as in the case of my protagonist in the musician screenplay I wrote. He's working with a band that's on the cusp of success, but he meets a big rock star who offers him a gig going on tour for big money. So he has that conflict. What he has to decide whether or not he's going to leave his friends and his best friends in the band. And so he has to face the music there, and his friends are upset with him, and he still goes on and does the tour. But in the third act, he recovers. He comes back. He's able to have his cake and eat it too. He gets the girl, and also he rejoins his band later on after going on tour with the big rock musician. That's kind of like the way the structure breaks down, but things are always happening. Good screenplays need conflict, and you don't have time to bore professional readers that include agents, managers, and producers. Writing economically is also very important to me. I read a lot of dense screenplays that bore the hell out of people, and I don't like big monologues of dialogue. I believe in ping pong dialogue, maybe one or two lines going back and forth, making your dialogue realistic and conversational. It makes it much more believable. And my narrative is generally 3 to 5 lines should get it done to describe any scene. If you can get it done with less writing and more economic, well-chosen words, that should be your goal. But I can tell you, again, that professional readers appreciate a lot of white space on your script. And scripts, I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, man, your script was a breeze, man. It was an easy read. And that's what you want to hear. After you've written your first screenplay, you may find it isn't all that great, but don't be too daunted by that. Go out and get some peer reviews. Join some screenwriting groups. Facebook is a great place to do that. There are several other social media platforms. I think there's some of that going on Twitter. There's an outfit called Stage 32. But find readers of your ability and find readers that are better than you that want to help you. You may meet arrogant people that give you attitude, but you have to go through that early on, or you may get lucky and not go through that. But find people that are willing to help. They're out there, and you won't have to pay for that help that way. If you insist on getting professional paid feedback, make sure you do your homework on that and talk to your friends about who they've used. Personally, I've never paid for feedback in my life, although I have charged for it. Finally, endeavor to be original with your work. Sometimes that means coming up with an idea nobody else has had, but how many zombie and vampire scripts have you seen? But if you do it, try to come up with a unique twist, a unique selling proposition which makes your script special. I just had a guy send me a screenplay last week about a famous 19th century novel, and there's been 2 previous film versions of that novel that have flopped, which I presented that point to him and said, you have to tell the person you're trying to sell this idea to why they want to make this into a movie when there's been 2 flops of the same novel. Anyway, that's your crash course in writing your first screenplay. If you want to find out more about me, look up www.thescriptgymnasium.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you. This is Phillip E. Hardy for Commaful. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.
If you found this interesting, be sure to like, subscribe, and give a special thanks to our volunteer instructor. Reviews and likes really go a long way and help us provide more awesome writing resources to the Commaful community. If you aren't on Commaful yet, you can join a community of poets, short story authors, and fan fiction writers on Commaful.com.